moment, Elvis the man was sacrificed, and Elvis the God was born.
I'm gonna show you what the real Elvis is like tonight.
King of rock and roll or talented copycat? I mean, the debate is out there. You cannot deny Elvis Presley was an icon, the king, and the focus for a whole new film. It's called Elvis, and it stars Austin Butler as Elvis, Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom, and it premieres today. And as we bring in Eli, okay, just stop, don't even say a word. Just let us just drink you in. Look at, I love the spirit with which you approach your reviews. Give us a side view here, Pompadour man. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Some days you just get lucky. You just get lucky. So.
Okay, don't be cruel with this, Eli, as you take us through. Well, maybe we should do the TBC. Take care of some business for us. Let's start with the start of the story.
Talking about taking care of business, that is where we start, not with Elvis, but the man behind the man, the circus carny turned music impresario, Colonel Tom Parker, played by, yes, Tom Hanks, traveling music promoter, someone who worked in the circus and learned what sells tickets is the freak show. The right combination of titillation and talent. Enter Elvis Presley, this pretty white boy with the pout and the pompadour. Well, Parker is there when Presley first takes the stage at the Louisiana Hayride, this national radio broadcast. There's Elvis standing in his pink two-piece suit. The hall's quiet. Some lunkhead in the crowd taunts him, says, "Get a haircut, Buttercup." And then, just watch.
Moment in a flash of lightning, I watched that skinny boy in the pink suit transform into a superhero.
Well, you may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you make nobody's rule now, baby. Come back, baby, come back, baby, come back, baby, home.
There you go. This was the freak show that Colonel had been waiting for, and it wasn't just the way that Presley moved or sang or the way that Elvis churned up the women in the audience, but at the time, let's remember, the South was still largely segregated. What Presley is doing here is taking black music, black moves, and putting them on the mainstream music charts, and the Colonel wasn't the only one with his own ambitions. Take a look.
Future, Mr. Presley, blazing before you. Recording contracts, television, even Hollywood.
You're great, Colonel. You are the best person I could ever hope to work with. You know, this is something I ain't never said to nobody before. I believe I can be great, too.
Oh, no doubt. But we could be even greater together. But to achieve this,
So there you go, and soon that is what happens. The film follows all the highs and lows, but Heather, first we got to talk about the Parker problem. Every now and then, Tom Hanks goes full on into character, and I think, as you can see now, this is one of those times, swaddled in the prosthetics, that strange accent that he has. Parker was originally from Holland. It is a constant distraction, especially compared against, I think, a more natural version of Presley that Austin Butler is channeling, but very much the narrative device of this film, it's told through the eyes of Colonel Tom Parker, even though, of course, the film is called Elvis.
So, Tom Hanks, as you say, the Parker problem. We get the sense that you're not overly impressed by him in this role, but tell us more about this Austin Butler characterization, Eli.
Just spectacular. What Austin does, this is a guy, maybe you saw him in the Carrie Diaries, maybe you saw him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he spent 3 years becoming Presley. And when you see him on stage, balancing on the tip of his toes, doing the dance with the singing, I mean, it is magnetic. It is electric. But what I think is really great about this, and I think this is going to do for him what Bohemian Rhapsody did for Rami Malek, but you see Presley, you see the power, but also there's this kind of wounded presence. There is this vulnerability, and it could be a lot of things. Austin lost his mother at the same age that Elvis lost his at 23. But what I really got watching this is almost this sense of longing that Elvis had, almost this desperation to make that connection with the fans and what he got back from them. And I wondered if this was kind of almost a story of a cycle of addiction. Now, I had a chance to speak with Austin Butler on the red carpet, and as you can hear, he sees things a little differently.
So I think it's a story of connection, and addiction is wrapped up in that. Yeah, because those moments where you're feeling so much connection and suddenly you're in an empty room, what do you do with yourself? You know, the balance is tipped so strongly for somebody experiencing that much attention.
And so as the story goes, we see the so-called king slipping further into that downward spiral that we know so well. Doctors providing him a kind of series of uppers and downers. Doctors sent in by, of course, the colonel, so he becomes more isolated. But before that, we are treated to stunning recreations of concerts. The show in Vegas with the leather jumpsuit and the backup singers. The concert in Memphis where Presley was supposed to be prim and proper, but then things started shaking. And then Baz, the way he films these is really interesting. He would pack the scene with hundreds of extras, and he essentially would shoot a full concert with Butler performing, and I think, again, feeding off that energy and the very real reaction of the extras watching him. And the final product is quite something.
So how does he then, in this film, deal with the issue that you raised early in our conversation, Elvis taking black music, black moves, and putting them on mainstream stages and charts, Eli?
The Elvis that Baz Luhrmann, the director, presents here is someone very much in love and in awe of black music and culture. We see how it inspired the way that he sings, the way that he moves, the way that he even dresses. And in Luhrmann's hyper-saturated style, we see a young Elvis drawn to this juke joint, this blues shack in the middle of Mississippi. We see him catching this Holy Spirit in a gospel revival tent in Memphis. He's hanging with B.B. King and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And the way that Elvis sings and shakes, it's seen as dangerous. But from the black community, there's never a word of resentment per se. Let's take a look.
Some people want to put me in jail the way I was moving.
They might put me in jail for walking across the street, but you're a famous white boy.
The way you sing is God-given, so there can't be nothing wrong with it.
Now, I had a chance to talk to Baz Luhrmann, the director himself, about this, and the way he says it is that if you're clear about the journey and those influences, it's not appropriation. Take a look.
Elvis stuff just went on the records constantly saying back in the 50s, I didn't invent this. You know, let's face it, I'll never be as good as Fats Domino. When they called him king in a press conference, he said, I am not the king. Come over here, Fats.
Yeah.
Points to him, says, he's the king of rock and roll. But people like the Colonel who want to sell Elvis, they want to put the crown on his head.
So there you go. According to him, it's all part of that Parker problem. Now, is this film biased? I would say yes. Is Baz trying to present perhaps a more flattering view of Elvis? I would say yes, but I would say also, like Presley himself, this is an appropriately audacious, outrageous, frenetic, electric, sweaty, jam-packed, rhinestone-encrusted spectacle of a film where modern hip-hop mixes with classic soul into a single sonic continuum. It is not a documentary, but for me, what ranks is that hunger for connection as he croons in that final performance, Heather, saying, I need your love, send your love to me. 3.5 stars.
3.5, okay. Not going to Graceland, but might see it in the theater. Okay, Eli, thank you, as always. Eli's in Toronto.
Some people want to put me in jail the way I was moving.
They might put me in jail for walking across the street, but you're a famous white boy.
The way you sing is God-given, so there can't be nothing wrong with it.